Hello, and welcome to the eManage version 7 video demonstration of Human Resources Employee Manager. Today I'm going to walk you through how to set up a new employee inside of eManage. First, I'm going to go to Human Resources and go to the Employee Manager. You first need to make sure that you have a division from your drop-down selected. Next, you can search employees by name. It's set to default to search by name, but you can also search by payroll number, driver's license number, title, or category. And under criteria is where we have all of the employees that have already been entered. I'm going to start with entering a new employee. First, we're going to go in and type in the employee's last name, employee's first name. And here you have a division drop down, which has already been selected. Title, you would only want to select a title if it's attached to a pay rate. And here under supervisor, this is their primary supervisor, so the person directly above them. You would go into your drop down and select the supervisor. Now here under installer, this is really important. If you're scheduling installers on the calendar, you need to assign them to an employee. So we'll say Todd Klum is going to go onto the calendar. Once I have assigned Todd to this employee, anytime you put Todd on a calendar, it's going to take on Jim Jones' pay rate. Same thing with service technicians. If you're assigning them on a calendar, you need to go in and assign them to an employee. Therefore, they'll be able to take on the employee's pay rate. User, you don't have to be a user inside of eManage to be an employee. If they are a user, you would click and select them from your drop down and add them. If they are a salesperson, you would go in and select them from the drop down and add them as a salesperson. Next, we're going to go in and put in a phone number. Date of birth. Let's put that in. Accrual start date is when they will start accruing sick days and PTO days. So if they don't start getting sick days or PTO days until 3 months after working, you would want to make this 3 months from their hire date. If it's not until 6 months after, then you would want to make it 6 months from their hire date. And this is the number of days that they're going to be collecting each month for sick days. So I'm going to put in 1.3 and the same for PTO. That means they will be accruing 1.3 days per month of sick days and 2.4 days per month of PTO. Base PTO. Base PTO is given at the time of hire, available from day one. For example, if it's part of a hiring package that they get 7 PTO days, this is where you would enter that. Employee type. You need to choose whether they're hourly, salary, or contract. Career location is used for the farming industry, so we'll skip that one. Social Security. You just type in their Social Security number, no dashes, and hit tab. Hire date. We'll put today. Terminated. This is where you'll go in and put the date that they're terminated. Anytime an employee is terminated in eManage, it will ask you for a reason. Last review. Last review, you want to make the hire date. And then here, under Review Every, you can decide whether they're going to be reviewed every month, every 3 months, every 6 months. So we're going to say 6 months, and it will automatically put in their next review date here for you. Category, you need to go in and decide which one of these categories they need to be assigned to. I'm going to say sales. And overtime type, you go into the drop down. We have 8 hours a day, over 8 hours a day, over 12 hours a day, over 40 hours a week, and over 60 hours a week. And you would decide which one you pay overtime off of. And current table is again for the farming industry. Here we're going to go in and put the employee's address. And you don't need to type city or state. Just go in and type the zip code and hit the tab, and it fills that information out for you. Payroll employee number. This is generally used by ADP and Paychecks. If they assign you a payroll employee number, you enter that there. Same as payroll code. Sometimes you'll get a payroll code from ADP or Paychecks, and you would have those listed in your drop down and go in and choose from one of those and assign them there. Insurance eligibility date. I'll say they're available for insurance on the 30th. This is where you would go in and put when they're eligible. It's also a reminder to make sure you get them all the necessary paperwork ahead of time. Gender. And here we have ethnicity. If you cannot ask this question, you will want to go into the administrator and in your drop downs add an NA here for an option so that you can choose NA if you are not allowed to ask this question. Over here we'll go in and you would put in their driver's license number, and then underneath you have driver's license class. Now I'm going to go into the checkboxes and show you what each one of them means and explain them to you. Show employee on time clock. If you do not have this box checked, you cannot create a timesheet for an employee from the time clock. Always use current time. If you don't have this box marked, an employee can clock in and clock out manually. If you have this box checked, what it means is here in the, I'll open the time clock. Here where an employee would log in, they could only hit current and it would use the current time. They cannot go in and manually enter a time in or time out. And this is so that employees cannot go in and type in hours that they weren't actually there working for you. Next we have project number required on time clock. If you check this box, we'll go back into open time clock, select a date and hit new. Here we have a drop down with project numbers. And the employee would just attach it to a project number. Same thing with service ticket. We now do timesheets from service tickets. And they would just go in and attach a service ticket. This is if you want to track the job cost for that job. Next we have required social security number on time clock. If this is not checked, an employee does not have to use their social security number to clock in. If you require them to, then you would need to check this box. It's very unlikely that somebody's going to give their social security number to somebody to clock in for them. PTO accrues to next year. If this box is checked, all of their PTO will roll over into the next year. If this box is unchecked, it's a use it or lose it, use it or buyout at that point. Can enter billable time. This is so that you can log timesheets against time and material jobs. Use day rate, that's if you use a day rate. Here you'd want to check whether or not they have a paid lunch. And here you'd want to check whether or not they are paid holidays. Now I'm going to go in and show you an example of paid sick days, paid PTO days, and a paid holiday. I'm going to go into log sick days, PTO, and holidays. So here, if this employee had been in for a while and had accrued some sick time and some PTO days, right here next to it, it would show you how many days that they've used Now on this side, it would show you how many days are available. So here you would go in for a sick day or a PTO day. You go to the drop down and pick which one you are going to check off. Here you would put in the number of hours, and this is for the number of days. If it's 2 days in a row, you would put 2 days, and it would start from the day that you selected the date. So for instance, this employee, since I checked the 15th, there would be a timesheet made for them on the 15th and 16th for 8 hours each day. Here you can check if it needs to be a verified absence, if you need a doctor's note, if it requires a doctor's note or something to that effect. And in here you can type a reason for the absence and hit save. Now go back in and I'll show you a paid holiday. Paid holidays, you do not select an employee. You highlight a date and hit new, and you will come in here and put in the number of hours for how many days, and then you would come down here and hit schedule paid holiday. Now what this is going to do is every employee that you checked that box that they receive a paid holiday, they will all receive a timesheet for 8 hours on that day that you selected for a paid holiday. So once you've finished checking all these boxes, you would want to go up here and hit save. And now the employee is saved in the computer. I'm going to go into an employee we already have and show you that you can attach documents. So you would do the drop down and hit enter. Okay. You can attach documents to an employee by clicking the Attach Documents tab up in the toolbar. You would go in, you could go in and browse, you could go to your desktop and drag and drop in here and hit Upload Documents. And here is where those documents are going to show up. You can attach a note to an employee, and you can assign it to be an alert to one or more people. Attach a note. And you can select from the drop down what type it is and hit save. So I'm going to go over here to notes, and you'll see here is the employee note that I just attached to this employee's record. Emergency contacts. You would go into an emergency contacts and enter an emergency contact, their name, the relationship, the call order. The call order is from 0 to 5, 1 to 5, obviously wanting the most important person called first, and you would select that right here. You would need to enter their address and a phone number and hit save. And then you could go into their emergency contacts, and there's all of their information of their emergency contacts attached to that employee. You can also issue assets to an employee. That can be done through the main tool menu under Asset Manager. The reason you would want to issue assets is, you would need to know who has keys to what, who has what cell phone, who has what laptop, when something needs to be serviced. When you go to terminate an employee, you can go in and make sure that you get all your issued assets back. And I can show you under issued assets is where you would attach it, and you would just click in there and you would see what has been assigned to that employee so that you can make sure that you get those items back. You can also print badges for an employee. We have some reports that you can make and print badges. You would need to upload a photo. You don't want it any bigger than what you would want on your ID. And you would go here to print badges. You would select who you would like to print a badge for and hit print badges. And here you can see it has a barcode and a picture. You can use this if you need people to clock in or out with barcodes. You can also put your company logo on this. This has been the eManage version 7 video demonstration of Human Resources Employee Manager. Thank you for watching.